Yep, I did it and I couldn't feel better. Anyway, so recently I quit my corporate job. It truly feels like shackles have been lifted from my arms. I've been playing a lot of games, watching a lot of good anime, working out more, and overall it's been really great. Something I think many people can relate to is that, I didn't really hate my job all that much, with passion or anything. It was what it was, and at the end of the day, it was just a job, right? But there's a plethora of small things about my job that I really didn't like though. And I personally think the small things are the worst because they're the ones that make you question your decision, right? Like just small annoyances that pile up throughout the day, but they're not like, fuck it, I quit, right? It simply slowly becomes worse and worse when they pop here and there throughout your workday for an extended period of time, right? I was actually good at my job, Whenever I received a task, it was always done well and on time. Sure, there were some instances where, like maybe 2 in my entire time working at the company that I was a little late. But the thing is, the job was done correctly, like 90% of the time, right? And that's how they get you, right? Because whenever you do your job correctly, you start to get increased responsibilities, increased amount of tasks, but money stays the same, which is obviously absurd. Having said that, the expectation is to keep the same results, high results, working for the same salary, right? And it's just a little stupid because why would you expect to keep, the same high results for the increased workload for the same salary? Like, how does that make any sense? So just to tell you something a little about myself, is like I was the youngest guy at the company, with the company being filled by basically all the dudes above 30, and I live in my parents' basement, so my salary expectations are not that high, right? I can afford to live for cheap. But still, it's like, but when I'm doing a good job and my responsibilities increase, one logical step would be to increase my salary, right? But anyway, some of the things that really annoy me, and I'm sure this is probably applicable to many of you as well, at every job, I feel like there's this one guy who's cutting corners at every task. So you kind of have to work with him and correct his shit, right? Because you know that at the end of the day, it's gonna kick you in the butt. But the thing is, he's being praised by the managers and whatnot because he just knows the culture and he's been there for God knows how long. So the problem with this situation is that the managers have no idea are completely clueless to what is happening. But at the end of the day, they're receiving the job done, right? He can get all the promotions in the world and it's all good because he's getting the work done. And he's being cool with the managers and stuff. So this just kind of goes into my second point, which is that there is something inherently, and I think probably this is not only applicable to me, but I really despise the fake-ass culture that corporate offers. People will just not be upfront, right? Say I'm working with a guy on a task, and I'm going back and forth with him. Like, let's say he's my client, right? And the guy is happy with or at least he's telling me he's happy with what I'm providing him. But then as we work on this long task, the second he approves the work, 15 minutes later, I get a call from my manager about how shit the work was. It's like, what? It's just this stupid ass, fake ass, we're all friends, aura type of shit, right? And it's just this type of fake ass shit, which is like, giving indirect commands, you know what I mean? For example, they'll be like, oh yeah, I really would love to see this feature in here and here. And it's like, cool dude, you want this feature as fast as possible, right? But like, you're my boss, dude, just be direct about your shit, what you want. Arguably the worst part was probably the recent, roughly like 4 to 6 months, I think, when I was basically doing the best job I could have basically done throughout my entire time working. And like everybody was basically saying, hey, this guy is doing amazing. Wow, this guy is basically doing my job for me. Holy shit. This guy, everybody was just singing praises basically and essentially telling me, hey, I'm doing an exceptional job. But when it comes to, talking about the actual salary, perhaps getting raised, or when you're about to talk about perhaps a promotion, that's when they hit you with the bullshit, you know what I mean? They tell you, oh, you're not good enough. Oh, there was this one instance where you fucked up. oh, there was this one time when a miscommunication happened, and you know, it's all bullshit, right? But the gist of it is, they're basically saying you're not good enough, right? So yeah, I decided to quit. You know, some may call me a bitch, some may call me a weak ass guy, some may call me, you know, whatever it is that they may call me, but I just can't deal with this bullshit. To me, it's just completely pointless to be bashing your head against a wall, essentially, is what this is. But at the same time, I wanna like say, hey, dude, if you're working in corporate and like, you know, you're like putting up with this bullshit, like, God bless your heart, man. Yeah, I definitely look up to people who can do that. But at the same time, I don't know, man. Like, you have to be really strong as a human being to be able to put up with this shit. So after you quit, you know, there's an expectation to have something lined up. But honestly, like, with the market right now, it's not that easy. And to be fair, there's a boiling point, right? When you reach it, there's just like, there's no looking back, you know what I mean? Like, when some bullshit happens that you cannot deal with, you just gotta do it, dude. So yeah, I have nothing lined up. It is what it is, you know. And when I told my parents about this, obviously their reaction, as you might expect, was, "You're a dumbass for doing this." But again, it is what it is, dude. So what's next? Well, the thing is, I have some savings piled up, so I don't think I'm gonna go broke too soon. So in the meantime, you know,